the whole concept pivots around two pillars. One is human centricity. So putting everything in the center of what the human thinks, wants to do, wants to be done to himself or herself is at the center of it. The other key attribute of design thinking is the whole process is very iterative. So it's not really expected that one gets it right at the first time. There is an iterative learning process to getting the output, the perfect output done and getting it right to the end customer. Yeah, to a great extent it is in experimentation mode, but what they are trying to do is get their teams and of course themselves to think more in the shoes of the customer and not only look at what the end customer says, but what the end customer does not say. So in design thinking, for example, there is a concept of empathy maps, and there is a focus on what the customer says, but beyond that what the customer thinks and feels. So that is an aspect many CIOs are trying to leverage to look beyond what really is a requirement given versus what really has to be created. They are trying to use design thinking to look at first who is the right customer, and within that concept even looking at employees as the customers, as the internal customers, because a lot of what CIOs make today has to be fit for their organization and just not externally. The CIOs are also looking to drive customer centricity through design thinking to potentially disrupt. If certain industries have developed a prototype for themselves in a context of this is how it really happens and there is no other way, some CIOs are really trying to think outside the box and say, I will change the way my company behaves and create a new normal for my industry and give a new customer experience. That's where they are trying to bring in design thinking. Yeah, and yes, there are some nuances of financial services, but these problems are also at times generic. One, of course, is who does the design thinking? And this is verbatim from one of the CIOs I was speaking to, saying, I typically deal with people who are used to coding and typically engineers. They sometimes struggle to really view it beyond a point of this is how it has to be coded, right? Design thinking requires a different kind of skill set, potentially aptitude and attitude. So that is slightly difficult to come by. The other, of course, is it being a new area. Sometimes design thinking, what it does not promote is jumping to a solution, which again is a very innate, in the nature of several cultures, including us, that one needs to jump into the solution of a problem without really thinking through and design thinking for the future around a problem. What's the first solution as at hand is what the team pivots to. So those are some of the key challenges, of course, bringing in the whole thought of what really can work versus this is just theory, that's how it has to be looked at. The final issue which I see, a top issue, is when a CIO tries to explain it to some businesses, say the sales force, sometimes there is a pushback saying, we know what works best. What is this new design thinking idea which you are trying to bring across to us? So those are some of the key challenges being actually faced on the ground.